Hi, I'm Betsy Barbieux, and this is CAM Matters. Come join us today as we talk about the exciting topic of corporations and the difference between nonprofit, not for profit, and for profit. Come join us.
Welcome to CAM Matters, Condos, Co-ops, HOAs, and beyond. Betsy Barbieux is an informational leader in Florida on community association living, rights, and obligations. She is an expert on the rights and obligations of owners as well as the association. If you live or are planning to live in the state of Florida, there's a good chance you'll be part of a community association. And by the end of this show, you'll know a little bit more about community associations and why they matter.
We're so glad that you're joining us for another episode of CAM Matters. We're going to be talking about corporations and everything that comes
Yay.
along with that. But first of all, Betsy,
Oh, stop.
who do I need to talk to about that black eye that you got there?
Well, I've told everybody today, we had a CAI luncheon, and I told everybody today it's left over from a really bad facelift, except obviously I haven't had a facelift. So
You better stop.
Well, remember, I'm a newlywed, and
Yes.
Jim and I haven't figured out how to kiss while I'm doing aerobics. And if he's trying to leave home in the morning and I'm doing aerobics and we crash, that's right where his chin goes.
Okay. All right.
Well, so I'm okay. I'm okay.
You got that cleared up. I'm
so
just
now,
glad.
now we don't have to talk about the black eye anymore.
Exactly. I'm glad it wasn't like a community event that you were, trying to be part of or something and things got out of hand,
Well, it almost could have been last week's meeting with a bunch of homeowners explaining amendments to their documents. And one of those topics, by the way, was corporations. It's like, honestly.
Well,
so that could be what I could say that's what that was from. They
It
really
inspired
didn't
you.
like anything I had to say.
So as we're digging into corporations, and that seems to be a sore spot with them, let's talk about first how it applies to community living. How is a corporation like a community living, and vice versa?
Well, the reason for a corporation, besides the fact that the legislators said that developers have to create a corporation to manage and operate the community. And remember, we have that threefold mission statement: protect the property and its value, maintain the things that are used in common, and enforce the restrictions on the owner's use rights.
Right.
So there's a threefold mission statement that the corporation has, but why a corporation to begin with?
Right.
Well, I don't know all of the other legal, technical reasons, but to me, the main reason for a corporation is for bargaining, for contracting, for liability. Instead of 245 owners in a community signing the lawn contract, you have an entity. A corporation is a legal entity. It has very similar standing as a person, and so it can contract. And it can have its own bank account. It can have its own tax ID number. The way corporations are set up is that the big group of people who have something in common, who want that ability, they organize themselves under their own state laws, whatever those might be, to incorporate. And you'll find just dozens of corporations if you just drive down Main Street.
Sure.
Dunstan Plumbing, Byers Funeral Home, Macklin Burnstead, Attorneys at Law. And then you've got the big ones like SunTrust or United Southern Bank. Those are big corporations.
Yeah.
But a lot of the local service providers, a lot of the local vendors, a lot of the local stores, they're all corporations. It allows you to contract. Just imagine if you had a community with a couple hundred people, whose name is the utility bill going to be in?
Right.
You're not going to put
talk about fights. Yes.
You're not going to put everybody in the corporation, in the community. You're not going to put their name on the utility bill. Think about contracting for insurance.
Right.
You're not going to have every owner in that community sign a contract for insurance for the common property.
Nor would they want it that way. Right.
No.
Right.
So corporations give you the ability to contract. In some corporations, there's limited liability to the members of that corporation for debts of the corporation.
Mhm.
In our communities, what we'll find is that there is personal liability on the board of directors,
Okay.
and we can talk about that later. But there is personal liability there,
Okay.
and that dovetails into the whole fiduciary uh, topic. And I don't know if we want to go there or not
Sure.
today. We have a show on fiduciary duty.
Yeah. Let me make sure I've got the foundation laid. So are you saying basically like the owners are kind of like the stockholders
Sort of.
a little bit?
You could, and what I will often call them instead of stockholders, because stockholders, the idea there is that they're going to get a return on their investment.
Mm,
And in your community associations, you're not get the corporation is not offering a return on investment for the owners.
right.
Hopefully, the owners do have an increase in their own individual property values,
Right.
but the purpose is not for that.
Right.
Um, the uh, so I'm going to call them stakeholders,
Okay.
or
That makes
even,
sense. Sure.
and in our communities we call them members.
Okay.
They're members of a corporation, and in other kinds of corporations, bigger ones like Truist or United Southern Bank, the stakeholders are stockholders and would get a return on investment.
Okay. So you've talked about the benefits of having, this corporation. I mean, there's legal protection, there's just basic organization. What possibly would be the problem with the corporation? What's a downside?
I I don't know of a downside.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how else we would conduct business the way we need to
Right.
without a
Right.
corporation.
Right.
The the state of Florida gives corporations, whether they're for profit or not for profit, and we'll probably do that in our maybe our after the break.
Right.
We'll talk about the differences between for profit, not for profit, and non-profit. We can talk
Wow.
about
Okay.
that. Some of the issues, especially for this angry group of owners, was that the corporation is allowed in Florida to do pretty much anything an individual can do. They can buy, sell, lend, borrow,
Sue or be
um,
sued.
sue
Right.
or be
Right.
sued, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, the this group that I was talking to, they really objected to the phrase in the um, articles of incorporation of being able to buy property. And somehow they thought the board of directors was just going to go out and spend all of their money, which they have none of,
Okay.
none, zero, uh, and was going to buy all this other property. And there was nothing I could say that can I tell you a phrase I came up with, or
Yes, please.
I don't know that it's actually mine. I don't
Okay.
think, but willful ignorance. I just don't understand not asking questions and wanting to learn.
Right.
I,
Right.
I, I
So they were
don't,
making assumptions that just weren't true and they weren't listening.
and they would not listen. No,
Okay.
no. And I mean, I was not probably 10 minutes into a little Q&A session that was getting started. And I finally said, okay, stop. Do you want me here or not? I don't, I mean, if you don't want to talk about any of this, if you don't want me to help answer questions and tell you about all of these amendments that your committee has worked really hard to draft, and we're just now introducing them to you and letting you have a Q&A, but I don't understand the hostility. I don't understand the anger. If you don't want me here, you don't want any help, you don't want me to help explain what some of the changes are going to be and why they're going to
Mhm.
be changes.
Mhm.
I can go home. I have plenty to do at the office.
So it's just they didn't like change for the sake of change, probably
I
because it's been
guess.
set up like this for a while, I'm guessing?
Yes, this community's documents, and I guess maybe the backstory here. The community documents were written in 1978, and they
Okay.
literally were written, typed on a manual typewriter. You
Okay.
can tell that
Okay.
they were a manual
I thought you were gonna
typewriter.
say chiseled. So, I mean, it could be worse,
Not
right?
that old, but manual
Pretty
typewriter.
old. Yeah. Yeah.
And and uh, they gathered a committee together about 3 years ago to start working on amendments.
Mhm.
And some communities do that and hammer through all of the what if, what if kinds of
Right.
things
Right.
before they go to the attorney. And it saves a lot of attorney's fees. And this committee has worked for almost 3 years on
Wow.
these amendments. Yeah. And even met during COVID. And they have worked really, really hard to update their documents. And they've been doing them, you know, based on what the statutes allow. And
Mhm.
they've been doing a really good job with the just keeping as many things the same as they can,
Right.
but then bringing it into the 21st century
Right. Right.
and taking advantage of the statutory legislative changes that have come along since 1978.
A lot's
And
changed since
and
then.
this committee has saved the community so much money in attorney's fees. And in another, I don't know, couple of months after they tweak them some more, the documents will be ready to go to the attorney for the final approval and let him or her tweak them. But in the
Mm.
meantime, all of this hashing out stuff has been done basically at hardly any expense. But one of the things that the developer put in the original documents was that the assessment, the amount of money that each owner pays, would only ever be $300 a year.
Ev That's in
A,
writing. Only
uh-huh,
ever be.
only ever be, could never be any more than $300 a year. They have been operating a community with 200 and, can't remember now, 200 and something, 60 something homes, a clubhouse, a swimming pool, sidewalks, shuffleboard court, those kinds of things. They've been operating that on $300 per person
Betsy,
a year.
what do you do? Can you change that? Can it be changed?
They can, yeah, they can change it, but the owners don't want it changed. And
That is a tough
and
situation. Yeah.
and it's kind of like, well, have you looked at your utility bill lately?
Right.
I mean, they need a manager. They don't have a manager.
Sure. Sure.
Everybody is a volunteer,
Wow.
and the the,
Wow.
um, I mean, I don't know how they've done it, but the
That's
property
amazing.
insurance is going to go way up. They've got an estimate right now of a $40,000 repair to their pool, and you know that's going to have scope creep, and
Wow.
that amount's going to go up. So this was our first introduction, and one of the things that they objected to was why are we a corporation? Why do we have to be? And I said, well, you already are.
Right.
I'm not making you one.
Right.
You
Right.
it's not the committee. You already are. And
Right.
in Florida, these are the powers that a Florida corporation has. Well, we don't want our board going out and buying property. And I'm like,
Wow.
that's like the
Wow.
last thing on their list. And besides, you don't have any money.
Right.
And and then the
Right.
other thing that they were just totally berserk about was the difference between nonprofit and not-for-profit.
Okay. That sounds like something we need to dive into on the other side of the break. Hang on, we're gonna be right back.
Okay.
Are you ready for a new career? Do you have skills or interest in management, real estate, construction, maintenance, accounting, strategic planning, project management, budgets, human resource management, lawn and landscaping, pool services, or any other expertise needed to operate a community association? If you do, community association management could be for you. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Florida Community Association Management continues to grow. Career opportunities abound.
Welcome back to Cam Matters, where today we're talking about corporations. And Betsy, we were just going to get into the difference, which is the first time it's ever been brought to my attention. There's a difference between nonprofit and not for profit. Are they not the same thing?
No,
Ah,
no.
okay.
And people mix them up and they don't really know that there is a difference. And again, I'm the lady who's picky with words, and
Well, it sounds like there's a
for
reason that
well,
this
for
is a
stat
big difference.
for test purposes for our managers when they're taking tests and things.
Right.
Um, there is the Florida For-Profit Corporation Act, which is Chapter 607 in our Florida statutes. But we also have another statute that is Chapter 617, and it's called the Florida Not-for-Profit Corporate Act. And not-for-profit is not the same as nonprofit.
Okay.
And people mix it up all the time.
Yeah.
Nonprofit is a charitable, like the charitable 501c3 that
Churches, Christian
churches, American
ministries,
Cancer
right.
Society,
Okay.
whatever those are, Good News Jail and Prison Ministry, whatever those are, that you can make a contribution to and get a tax deduction for. You get a
Okay.
little contribution statement at the end of the year to give to your accountant.
Okay.
Our communities are not nonprofit. They in Florida, I don't know what other states have, what kind of categories they have, but in Florida we have another kind of corporation that the better name for it is common interest group, common
Okay.
interest corporation. And let me give you an example of a common interest corporation.
Okay.
I think a lot of us have had or know of children or grandchildren in the high school band.
Mhm.
And the high school band uniforms are awful, and the school never has any money to buy new band uniforms. So the parents of the band kids organize themselves into a band parent booster corporation that is a not-for-profit corporation for the sole purpose, common interest, of selling Cokes and hot dogs at the ball games and raising money to buy band uniforms. Now, that not-for-profit common interest corporation is not organized as a return on investment for its stakeholders, members,
Right.
stockholders. It's not organized for that. It's organized for common interest. That corporation also has a board of directors, just like ours do. The
Mhm.
board of directors elects the officers, which would be, you would call them functionaries. They have tasks, they have duties that help administer the
The
purpose
defined roles.
of the
Yeah.
corporation, like a
Yeah.
president,
Yeah.
vice president, secretary,
Mhm.
treasurer. They don't uh, particularly have any extra power. They just have extra duties
Right.
on the board of directors. That Band Parents Corporation has a tax ID number. Now it can contract as a corporation. It
Mhm.
will open a bank account. If it is going to rent a tent to sell hot dogs and Cokes under, it can now contract as one entity instead of all of the band parents having to sign a contract.
Right.
It can get its own event insurance
Okay.
for the activities that it
Maybe
has.
some tax benefits?
And
Yeah.
no,
No? No
no,
tax benefits?
no tax benefits. No,
Okay.
no.
So
Florida's,
nonprofit has tax benefits, but not for
yes,
profit. Okay.
does not. No,
Interesting.
no, you
Okay.
still pay sales tax.
Okay.
You still file a federal income tax return. It's either an 1120 or an
Okay.
1120H. Uh, and you may in
Interesting.
Florida file a state corporate tax return, an
Okay.
F1120. Uh, but that your accountant takes care of that. But no, the not-for-profit has no tax benefits whatsoever. Still
Hmm.
pay sales tax. Um, Probably don't earn enough income to pay uh, income tax, but you still file an income tax return.
Right.
But it still will likely show zero. If you think about the band parents, they've organized themselves into a common interest corporation.
Mhm.
They sell Cokes and hot dogs at the ball games, and they use the money to buy band uniforms.
Right.
It's a common interest group. We kind of do the same thing as a community association. We organize ourselves into a corporation. We have a board of directors, and the board of directors elects officers. That's the way corporations work. And this one little community their officers are a totally different group of people. They don't understand how corporations work. But the big group of members elects the little leadership group, and then the little leadership group elects its officers,
Okay.
its functionaries. In our communities, we pay money to ourselves. That's how we raise our money. We don't sell Cokes and hot dogs. Instead, we pay money to ourselves. That's our assessment payment. And we get the pool cleaned, and we get the yard mowed, and we get the clubhouse insured.
Right.
We are the same kind of organization as those little band parents. And it has no tax advantage at all.
Okay.
It has no other IRS reporting requirements. It's annual tax return at the end of the year.
That was a great example. The whole band thing just completely painted the picture of the difference. I want to go back to the group that was upset because it sounds like they were just made aware that they were a corporation, but they were afraid of the power that they were learning that this corporation legally have never used it. They've never had any reason to fear going out and buying land. But now all of a sudden,
But they've always had the power.
Right.
It wasn't, this is the first time anybody's actually read through their documents.
Right.
But they've always had the power to buy land.
So are you saying that every community is a corporation, like by law, whether you're an HOA
Yes,
or
in Florida,
in Florida?
every community association, whether you're a condominium, a cooperative, or a homeowner association, every community is a Florida corporation.
Okay.
Most of them are organized under Chapter 617, the not-for-profit statute. There
Okay.
are a few that are for-profit, and that's above my pay grade.
Right.
I don't understand that, but
Right.
why they would do that,
Mhm.
or how that works. But most of them are not-for-profit. And then we're also organized under a second statute. And so we're a corporation, but we're a peculiar type of corporation. We're a condominium corporation, or a co-op corporation, or a homeowner association corporation.
Okay.
So we're a corporation, but then we're a peculiar type of corporation. And then that tells us the specific statutes that we're organized under.
Betsy, I really appreciate the fact that you use such good examples. I mean, to be able to share vulnerably about the difficult situation you had really brought to light that people aren't reading when they're moving into community living situations. Like they're
No.
not aware, and that could be really dangerous. Yeah.
And I think I have to try to remember. I feel like I probably am particularly blessed in that, with some other knowledge maybe that people don't have, because my very first job in the law office when I went to work when I was 20 was the corporation clerk, corporation secretary. I have typed articles of incorporation and bylaws and stockholders agreements and all those kinds of minutes. I have typed minutes
Mhm.
since I was 20 years old. I still type minutes the exact same way that they taught me in the law office.
Wow.
And so I don't remember not knowing and understanding that legal organizational structure. I don't remember not knowing. And so I'm hoping that I can explain simply enough to others so that they can understand the significance of it. Because if we weren't a corporation, you can't do business if you're not a corporation.
Right.
A group of people needs to be a corporation,
Wow.
and that's what we are.
What a mind-blowing episode. Thank you so much. It's very clear. I went from, oh boy, corporations, this is going to
It's
be
like,
really
oh,
confusing, to
this will be an awful one.
that, yeah, I totally understand it because you paint such a great picture. Betsy, just one more time, let people know how they can get a hold of you if maybe you've sparked some questions, or maybe they want you to come moderate their meeting to explain this.
Yeah, invite Betsy. You can have a knockdown drag out.
She's still got one good eye.
Betsy at floridacamschools.com, and also my phone 352-326-8365.
This information is so important. Be sure if you're in, community living, just environment, if that's who you're networking with, let them know about CAM Matters. Share this information so that they can pass that on to the owners and people who are involved. So we thank you so much, Betsy. I hope that you
You're
have a great
welcome.
day, and we'll see you for the next show.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for listening to CAM Matters. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Information provided on this show is general in nature and does not constitute legal advice. Please contact a licensed attorney for your specific situation.